This is part 2 and the final one of copying a gear for my lathe. In the first part we saw a bit the setup and I had to stop, but now we will continue. So let's see what happens, see if it works. To put the set screw in here, of course I have to drill, and this is gonna be a little bit scary. You see, this one doesn't hold in place and it's in two parts. I already put a center drill here in the center of the shaft. The vise is fixed on the table, so normally that shouldn't be a problem. This one goes here, this one goes here, and I hope it will be self-centering. So let's try and see what happens. If the bird doesn't come out anymore. This one seems okay. Next one. I think that worked just fine. Let's tap it. This is the original gear and inside is the bushing I made. I drilled and tapped here, M4, and here's a little dimple. So this one comes here. That seems to work. Great. That will do. Now to clock the system here, I came up with a scrap metal system. This must be the piece of scrap the most used in my shop. As you see, this side is machined, this side is not, but it's not important. And I drilled a hole in here. I will show you how it works. This one comes right here. A nice big washer and a nut. And then I made this pin. This will go, of course, here in the teeth of the gear, and we hold it in place with a washer and a spring that goes in here. It's a bit too tight, like this. Try to center it. That looks good. To be sure it's not gonna move, I'm gonna add this clamp. That's the idea. I also prepared two cutting tools. First I'm gonna cut with the small one, cut completely to depth, and then I made this one, which should have normally the right size for the teeth to do the finishing passes. First, this one. That will do. I suppose this is the kind of setup you don't see every day, but we'll see if it works. Now, I measured all the gears that in my lathe, and they're all different depth for the teeth. So I took more or less an average, and the depth of cut will be 3.2 millimeters. Okay, here we go. I thought the point of the cutting tool was broke, but seems to be okay. Okay, I see what's happening. The gear blank is moving. Okay, let's first fix that problem. I think I found the problem. This ring is held on with two screws, and of course they're countersunk a bit. You can see it's on this side, and one of them was just a little bit out of this surface. So my gear blank was wobbling around on it. I filed it off by hand. It's a very primitive act, hand filing, and now it seems to fit much better. So let's reassemble the thing and see if it works. It doesn't work. We can see clearly that this L-shaped iron piece here is bending while cutting. So this is not rigid enough. I have to make a more solid setup. So I took the whole setup apart again. I'm gonna reuse this one. It works very well, no problem. So this one comes here, and then I found a bigger plate. I'm gonna adapt to fix it here, and then I have a little piece of flat bar that I can bolt on here, and then on the lathe I will drill and bore it out on the same height, same center height, than this one, of course. First I'm gonna clean it up a bit in the shaper and bolt it on this plate, and then we'll see what happens. So, while nobody was looking, I quickly made this special little angle plate. It took me about 1 week to make it. Of course not 1 week full time, but a few hours a day. And I hope this one will be more rigid. So let's mount the thing and see what happens. This time I hold it with 2 T-nuts, the other one was with only 1. So for the rigidity, normally it should be better. It's a bit snug. Okay, that looks good. The tool is centered over the work, so now I can put my table stops in place. Touch off, put 0. Right, I'm all set up to take the first cut of the second try. Let's see what happens. Here goes nothing, as they say. Three millimeters. I finished the first cut on all the teeth. It doesn't look too bad, so now it's time to switch tools. So we're gonna take this one out. Put the tool holder in place. And then this one used to be my thread cutting tool for the lathe. You can hardly see it, but it's rounded now. I'm gonna install this one. This should be right in it. That looks good. And now we're gonna set the 0. It's hard to turn. Right. Zero. I did put a little piece of copper wire, electric wire, under this set screw, so I don't damage this shaft here. And I think it's a little bit stuck, and that's why it's so hard to turn. But that's okay, I can live with that. Looks good. While cutting, you can clearly see that the part is still moving. But what to do? Right, I just finished getting all the teeth, so we can take it apart, clean it up and see what we've got. I'm gonna deburr a bit and then see if it works. But to me, it looks like a gear. First of all, we're gonna see if it fits. That looks good. Now in the comment section, Tom suggested to do a sound test. Compare the new gear and the old gear. So first I'm gonna put in the old gear, turn the lathe, and then we're gonna listen. And then I'm gonna put in the new gear and turn the lathe again, so we can compare. I think that's a brilliant idea. Right. This system you see here is the reverse system. On a normal lathe you have a handle somewhere to switch. Here you have to unloosen this nut and then change and re-tight. Stupid system, but it is what it is. Okay, let's give it a spin. Now I'm gonna mount the new gear on it so we can compare. Let's compare. The old gear is a bit less noisy. I don't know if the camera picks it up very well, but the new one, you feel that indeed it's new. But the reason why my setup was not rigid enough is easy to understand. I'm gonna take this away a bit. Voila. When I made this one, the Ratchet gear for the shaper, the teeth are straight. With a width of, if I remember well, 2.6 millimeters. And the cutting tool is going down, and the cut is always 2.6 millimeters. That's a small cut. So my system with the angle iron and then this ring here worked perfectly well, no problem. When I made this one, the teeth are in V and a little bit rounded. More this shape. Of course, when you're at full depth, you cut all the surface, and the depth was 3.2 millimeters. So here we have the width of the cut is in total more than 6 millimeters, almost 7 millimeters. And for a little machine as mine, that is a big cut. I think we can conclude that copying gears on the shaper, indeed, it is possible. My biggest problem was precision, of course, because this gear is completely worn, and then you have to take measurements on something that doesn't exist anymore. That's not really easy. And then a mistake I made was this bushing system to reuse the old shaft. That's not a real good idea. I should have made a bigger shaft that goes in here, and then my angle block here bore it out bigger, so it will be one rigid system. But it works, and there's more good news. My hair is coming back. It's not the original color, but it's coming back